you properly. Okay? So what are we trying to establish? Basic information. Who is or are the missing subjects? Okay? You can always look for more than one subject. Is there a question?
No, I saw in the picture that the girl in the picture made a sign, and I wondered whether she wanted to give some message to the one that asked the question.
I don't know. What is that sign?
She's throwing a gang sign.
That just happens to be a photograph. This was a photograph that was actually I borrowed from Kim Kelly. I think it's out of a newspaper. And it just was appropriate. I mean, appropriate in terms of it shows you emotional states of someone that looks like they all were pulled out of the water. Not everybody was pulled out. I don't know the story behind it, but. Actually, you're the second person to point out the fact that it looks like a
love.
Sign for love.
Love.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for telling me that, because it wasn't until today somebody pointed that out. Is she deaf? I didn't understand why, and now I know. You just answered the question, so I learned
Not
something.
just that, but or not just deaf, but a lot of kids, or at least my kids that age, are into that. Doing some of the signs.
Yeah.
And
Well,
not
yeah.
the gang signs.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I don't know how old the picture is, to be honest with you. But thank you for that. Continuing on, okay? Basic information, their name, okay? And I have up here, remember nicknames. Okay, I put Pooter up there as a reminder to myself to tell a story about a missing 3-year-old in the town of Danville. Out of the far end of town, there was some rural farming area type there. Out there, and this one 3-year-old lived in this house. He went for a walk with the dog, the family dog. The family dog came back, and the little kid didn't come back. Originally, we were told, when the investigation talked to the family, what's his name? Jonathan. Okay, so what are our searchers? What name were they out there calling? Jonathan. But the family kept referring to him as Pooter. And so I said, is that his nickname finally? They said, oh yeah. He said, is that what he responds to? Yeah. Okay, get on the radio, guys. Okay, everybody listen. His name is Pooter. They get this dead silence. Okay. I don't remember why they called him Pooter. I don't think it had something to do with potty training or something. But is that important for people to know out in the field? Oh, yeah. Certainly it is, okay? Documented case down in San Diego. They're looking for a guy, another Jonathan. Older gentleman. A search team found a guy that matched the description. They went up and they had talked to him. Is your name Jonathan? No, I go by, my name's Doug. Okay, thank you very much, and they wandered off. After investigation, they found out that he went by the name of Doug, and the search team had to go back and refine the guy that they talked to. Okay, it can happen. So we asked the question. I put it up here to remind you to ask the question. Okay, other basic things about clothing descriptions, shoe sizes, all that kind of basic stuff the searchers do out there. We want to know their ability to travel. How mobile are they? Are they walking? Are they riding? Are they in a vehicle? Okay, a horse, whatever. Can they use public transportation? Do they know how to use public transportation? Okay, I asked this question in the earlier class, in all my earlier classes. Do you need money to ride public transportation?
You can slip by at times.
What's that?
You can slip by at times, but...
Okay, that's exactly right. That's what happens. Little kids know, streetwise kids know how to get in the back end of buses. When people are coming out, they just jump on. Bus driver either doesn't see it or doesn't care, doesn't have time because he's got to get to his next stop. Okay, an elderly person can be trying to get on the bus and he's going like this, looking for change. There's 10 people standing behind him. He says, sir, why don't you have a seat there? We'll take care of you at the next stop. Okay, so he sits down, he can ride all day. Okay, we had to look for an 8-year-old autistic kid in the city of Walnut Creek. This kid was obsessed with Bay Area Rapid Transit, BART. They had found him once on the BART platform. It took 3 grown men to pry him off the column on the BART platform because he wanted to be there with the BART train. That was his obsession. Okay, we went missing again. So we focused in on the BART trains again. And he knew how to get on. We knew because he got out of the platform once before. He knew how to beat the system. But we couldn't find out if there was questionable whether the dog sensed it that he had gone in. It was in the area. Anyway, long story short, we found him on the BART train at 1:30 in the morning when they shut down. 1 passenger left, missing 8-year-old. So we need to know if they know how to do that stuff. Do they hitchhike? There's some places where people do. Hitchhiking's still acceptable. Not in where I live, but certainly around other places. It's done all the time. Your survivability. What kind of survivability skills do they have? And what kind of training do they have? 48-year-old gentleman's gone out backpacking. Okay, he's by himself. Okay, he's overdue. He asked the wife, has he had any survival training? Oh yeah. Well, what kind of training has he had? Well, he was a Boy Scout. Okay, has he done any backpacking, had any training since then? No. He wanted to relive his youth when he was a teenager. He just wanted to go backpacking again. Okay, does he have any survival skills? Probably not. Or if not, if they are, not very good, because he hasn't, unless he's read books and stuff like that, actually gone out and practiced. So that can change the complexion about his survivability. So we have something, again, urgent versus not as very urgent. Okay? How are they going to react to the environment, environmental changes, okay? The altitude, the cold, the rain, the day and night. If the sun goes down, what are they going to do? They're going to try to macho their way out of the wilderness, or are they going to sit tight and build a camp and be comfortable and go out and kill a bear and strip them and eat them? What? You know, those types of things. What possessions do they have with them? Okay, in terms of survivability, as well as possible clues. Things that they might have leave behind, or things they'll use and they're designed to be disposable and they didn't carry it out. Communications capabilities. Do they know how to use? Do they have a radio with them? Do they have a spot? Do they have a PLB? Any of those types of communication devices? Okay, are they a hunter? Any hunters in here? Okay, if you're out there hunting and you're in distress, what's the signal, emergency signal?
3 of anything, 3 gunshots, 3 fires, 3 whistleblowers.
Okay, 3 fires?
Yeah, 3 fires.
3 arrows in the air, yeah.
3 arrows in the air, I like that one better. And groups of 3.
Groups of 3, okay.
3 coins in the fountain.
3 coins in the fountain.
Yeah.
Which one will have to find happiness anyway? Okay, what's the response from other hunters? Supposed to be. If you hear 3 shots, besides duck. Okay. What's that?
Shoot back at him.
Shoot back at him. Okay. 1 shot, 2 shots. I've heard both. 1 or 2. At least 1 shot. Return. Okay, that means I heard you. We're going to come and help you. Okay. But is it important for your searchers to know that information?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because if they start hearing gunfire, they're like, I'm gunfire, I'm going, I'm running. They start running back to base camp. Okay, that's important. He's a hunter, a missing hunter. He recognizes that there's danger and he's trying to alert you to where he's at. Okay, so that's important information. That's all it has to do with communication. Okay, do they know how to dial 911? Okay, does a little kid know how to dial 911 if he gets lost? Okay, it's hard to find payphones anymore that we can dial 911 on. Okay. Is there an answering machine? Where's the family during a search? Okay, base camp. Okay, when the guy who hikes out and wants to call home, he's going to call home? What's he going to find? The answering machine. Okay, we had a missing gentleman in the town of Danville where I patrol, and he and his wife were going to a Christmas party at an upscale museum called the Black Hawk Museum. It's a car museum for her company Christmas party. He was going along, really didn't want to go, got in an argument with his wife. They were coming up to a stoplight. He said, I'm not going to this party, and he opened the door and stepped out of a moving vehicle. He was going real slow, but his wife went, so she drove around the corner, parked the car, went back to pick her husband up off the sidewalk, and he's gone. So she's all panicky because he's diabetic, and she thought something was wrong. So she calls us. We're searching, driving around the area looking for this diabetic gentleman. I'm trying to convince my sergeant, hey, let me talk to the lady. I'm in search. He knew I was in search and rescue, but I don't want to call the search team yet. Okay, let me talk to her now. Well, finally, she's doing this in his ear, and he finally says, okay, Chris, why don't you deal with it? Fine, thank you. So I started talking to her. She says, is there an answering machine at the house? Well, yes, there is. Can you retrieve this messages? No, I forgot the code. Okay, was there a neighbor, somebody that has keys that can go listen to your machine? Yeah, an extra neighbor. Go call her and have her check the machine out. She did. Called back 10 minutes later. Yeah, there's 3 messages on there from your husband. Oh, really? Okay, what were they? First message. Honey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get so upset, but I decided to go home. I got a taxi back to Rode BART back to the Daly City Station. Can you please come pick me up? Beep. Next message. Honey, I know I'm really sorry, but you know, I'm getting cold out here and they're going to close the station down. I need you to come pick me up. Okay? Beep. Third one was full of expletives. I can't repeat it. End of search. Okay? So, you've got to follow up and stuff like this. And again, we get so caught up with blinders on. We're out there looking in the wilderness or looking in the urban environment or whatever, trying to find the subject. We don't think about the basics, that they're home, sitting there watching TV, eating a hamburger, waiting for the wife to come home. Okay, there is no search. And there's a couple of stories about that. They're familiar with the surroundings. Do they live in the area? And okay, if they had previous experiences in the area. Generally, you're looking for an Alzheimer's walkaway. They may be familiar with the area, but they're not familiar with where they're particularly living in a assisted living facility. Okay, my father, was in an assisted living facility. And in an area, he knew Contra Costa like the back of his hand. He spent he lived in the same house for 55 years. He knew every place in the county. But I would pick him up to take him to a doctor's appointment. He didn't know the neighborhood we were driving around in. And I know he knew it before. And as we're driving around, he's just going to start to pick up some spots that look familiar. And then all of a sudden something would look familiar. And then he'd start to give me directions on how to get to where we're going. Okay, but they don't have any, cognitive mapping, and it's the classic story. How long have they been in this facility? 2 days. Okay, and they wandered out. Okay, so but there's other places, of course, backpackers. They've never been backpacking in this particular environment, so they're not experienced, and that becomes a problem. And then you start looking at lost person behaviors that go along with those types of people that are missing, the hikers or the backpackers or whatever.